I want to talk about something today because it's not an issue or hasn't been an issue lately, but probably will be at some point in the future. And that's how we handle conflict and how to avoid conflict in the Democratic Party. It's I bring it up in part because lately things have been really smooth. I don't really remember the last time we had any notable conflict in our Tillamook County Party organization, Tillamook County Democrats. And all the time that I've been involved with the Tillamook County Democratic Party, really haven't seen anything major. So it's not a big deal, but this kind of thing does happen, and I have been witness to some unfortunate conflict in the Democratic Party that I don't think needs to happen, but we need to talk about it. That's one of the things that I think is kind of proactive measure to prevent problems like this from arising. So the reason I'm doing this little thing is to begin a conversation, not really to lecture or tell people, or even beg or plead with all of our people to treat each other nicely. Although, I think that's a good thing, treat each other nicely. But let me just tell you some things that are helpful to me in avoiding and managing conflict. And then I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear what techniques you use. And, you can send me an email or however you want to do that. Maybe we'll just get together and talk about it, but I want to initiate a conversation about it. So here's what's helpful to me. Number one, I try never to correct, especially in this context, in the context of working with the party. And I've been involved with the party for quite a while, but I try never to correct another member of the party in any kind of context, especially not a committee meeting with a bunch of people or any kind of event, without consulting someone else first, without checking my judgment, right? So that would, and what that often looks like is, or has looked like in the past, is, I see some behavior that I, kind of makes me cringe a little bit. And so, I just lean over to the person next to me, or, in the Zoom world, private chat someone, or however, whatever works, maybe send a text, just say, hey, did you see that? Should we say something to that guy? So I check my judgment, right? It's often, sometimes I'm just in a bad mood, and my impulsive reaction is one that I regret later, or would regret if I had acted on impulse. So that's a good thing. Check your judgment before correcting someone. I don't, and generally speaking, we don't want to correct the behavior of our fellow Democrats unless it's necessary. And sometimes it is, sometimes it's necessary. But when we have to do it, we try. It's better, or at least my practice is not to do it in front of others. If you have to talk to someone about some behavior we don't really want going on in our committee meetings or our events or whatever, just finding an opportunity to pull that person aside and say, just want to talk to you about what happened yesterday, and let's I know you probably regret it, and I felt uncomfortable, so let's just talk about it. That's sometimes a good way to kind of introduce a uncomfortable subject like that. Another thing I do is I try to escalate these issues slowly. If I can't seem to get results with the person, talking one-on-one in a tone kind of like that. And some difficult behavior seems to be persisting. Finding an opportunity to meet with that person with one or two other people, so it's not just him discounting my opinion because it's just that cold guy, and that happens sometimes. My opinion doesn't often count for a whole lot, but if we're having a problem, getting a couple of trustworthy people who have good judgment and are known for having good judgment, getting them together and talking in a very small group about something that's problematic is often helpful. I try as much as possible, and it's a technique I recommend to others, to use more personal communication styles as the opportunity for misunderstanding increases. So what I mean by that is that when I have something difficult to say to someone, if I need to talk to someone about problematic behavior in meetings or in their dealings with anyone really, I try to do that in person if I can, right? If we can get together face to face, good. Next best, that's certainly the best. Talking one-on-one in Zoom, so where we can see each other's faces, it's probably next best. Phone, next best. I'm not so good at the phone conversation thing. Email and text, that's just not a good, if you're a really good writer and you know how to choose your words, and you are you're skilled at that kind of thing, then if what you're trying to do is conceal anger, then maybe correcting someone through email or trying to convince them to change their behavior that way is okay. But it's you're opening up more opportunities for misunderstanding and hurt feelings if you try to communicate in writing, because most people don't have that kind of writing skill. And for me, it just takes a long time. And usually, I don't really have anything to conceal. I don't have to adopt a really controlled tone that by, doing it at the keyboard. Usually I have pretty, positive feelings about the person I'm dealing with. I just kind of need to help them see that maybe a different way of being would be useful to all of us. And so, getting together personally is best. I learned when I was a young man in some kind of Dale Carnegie setting. I think I may have been asked to read a Dale Carnegie book or something about how best to deliver criticism and how best to deliver praise. He said, if you're going to praise someone, it's good to do that in writing, right? So that the person will be able to read it over and over again, and it makes a more lasting impression. But he said, if you're going to criticize someone, try to do that face to face, like I'm recommending here, so that they'll be able to see that, it's not that this doesn't damage our friendship. They'll be able to see what's in your heart instead of dwelling on what's on the page or on the screen these days. So those are the things that I recommend for managing conflict. We will have, at some point, even the Tillamook County Democratic Party will experience some serious conflict. Almost certainly, almost every especially in politics, um, it's an environment which is naturally prone to disagreement, and conflict will happen. And we will be better off if we have talked about it in advance and just kind of have a group consensus on how best to handle it and how to avoid it. And we depend on good relations, good personal relations between us, because this is a volunteer organization, right? We don't have any power to the kinds of power that you have in a corporate environment, where you you have a performance review to give, or someone's pay or their job depends on it. We don't have any of that. We have to get along and basically operate through love and trust. That's the way we connect with each other and have to operate if we're going to be an effective political organization. Anyway, that's enough preaching from me. I sure would like to hear from you guys on this, because I know that there are people who do a better job of managing their personal relations and their relations with groups than I do. I've been involved in a fair amount of conflict, and so I know I'm not, not always the best person to pontificate about all of this. So that's enough on that subject for right now, but I do want to talk about this more, especially while it's not urgent.